Ruth 1. And it came to pass in the days when the judges were judging, that there was a famine in the land. Therefore a man from Bethlehem of Judah went to sojourn in the fields of Moab, he and his wife, and his 2 sons. And this man's name was Elimelech, and that of his wife Naomi, and those of his 2 sons Mahlon and Chiliam, Ephrathites, from Bethlehem of Judah, and they came to the fields of Moab, and they stayed there. And Elimelech, Naomi's husband, died, and she was left with her 2 children, who took for themselves Moabite women, and it was the name of one Orpah, and that of the other Ruth, and they stayed there nearly 10 years. And both Mahlon and Chiliam also died, thus leaving the woman destitute of her 2 children and her husband. Then she and her daughters-in-law arose and returned from the fields of Moab, for she had heard in the land of Moab that the Lord had visited her people by giving them bread. So he left the place where he had been, and his daughters-in-law with her. And as they went on their way to return to the land of Judah, Naomi said to her daughters-in-law, Go, return each one to her mother's house, and the Lord use kindness to you, as you used to the dead and to me. The Lord grant you to find rest each in her husband's house. And when she kissed them, they lifted up her voice and wept. And they said to him, We will surely return with you to your people. But Naomi said, Return, my daughters. Why would you go with me? Do I still have more children in my womb, that they may be your husbands? Go back, my daughters, go away. I am too old to have a husband, even if I said, I have hope, or even if I had a husband tonight and still had children. Would you wait for them until they grew up? Would you stop for them without taking a husband? No, my daughters, who is more bitter to me than to yourselves, because the hand of the Lord was discharged against me. Then they lifted up her voice, and wept again, and Orpah kissed her mother-in-law, but Ruth clung to her. Therefore Naomi said, Behold, thy sister-in-law has returned to her people and to her gods, return thou also after thy sister-in-law. But Ruth said, Do not urge me to forsake you, and to stop following you, for wherever you go I will go, and wherever you land, there I will land, your people are my people, your God is my God. Wherever you die, I will die, and there I will be buried. May the Lord do so to me, and so much more, if anything other than death separates me from you. Seeing Naomi, who was determined to go with her, she stopped talking to her. So the 2 of them went their way until they came to Bethlehem, and it came to pass, when they entered Bethlehem, that the whole city was moved because of them, and they said, Is not this Naomi? But she said to them, Do not call me Naomi, call me Mara, because the Almighty has given me great bitterness. Full I went, but empty the Lord made me return. Why then call me Naomi? The Lord testifies against me, and the Almighty has wronged me. So Naomi returned, and with her Ruth the Moabitess, her daughter-in-law, who came from the fields of Moab, and they arrived in Bethlehem at the beginning of the barley harvest. Ruth 2. And Naomi had a relative of her husband, a mighty man, of the family of Elimelech, and her name was Boaz. And Ruth the Moabitess said to Naomi, Let me go into the field, and I will gather ears after him in whose eyes I find favor. And she said, Go, my daughter. So she went, and she came, and she gathered ears in the field after the reapers, and a portion of the field of Boaz, who was of the family of Elimelech, fell to him. And behold, Boaz came from Bethlehem, and said to the reapers, The Lord be with you. And they said to him, The Lord bless you. Then Boaz said to his servant, who was standing over the reapers, Whose maiden is this? And the young man who was standing over the reapers answered and said, This is the Moabite girl who returned with Naomi from the fields of Moab. She said to me, Let me pluck the ears, and gather them between the sheaves after the reapers. So she came, and from morning she is here until now, except a little while she has been sitting at home. Then Boaz said to Ruth, Listen, my daughter, do not go to reap in another field, nor pass from here, but here you will stay with my girls. Your eyes will be on the field they reap, and you will go after them. Didn't I order the young men not to bother you? When you are thirsty, go to the vessels and drink what the young men draw. Then she fell on her face, and bowed to the earth, and she said to him, Why have I found grace in your eyes, that you take notice of me, since I am a foreigner? And Boaz answered and said to him, Well, have you told me how much you did to your mother-in-law after the death of your husband, and you left your father and your mother, and the land where you were born, and you came to a people you didn't know before? The Lord reward your deed, and a full reward may be given to you from the Lord God of Israel, under whose wings you have come to take shelter. And she said, May I find grace in your eyes, my Lord, for you have comforted me, and you have spoken in the heart of your handmaid, when I was not yet like one of your handmaidens. And when it was time to eat, Boaz said to him, Come here, and eat some of the bread, and dip your morsel in vinegar. And she sat by the reapers, and he gave her some of the parched wheat, and she ate, and was satisfied, and she had more to come. And as she got up to glean, Boaz commanded his young men, saying, Even among the sheaves let her glean, and do not reproach her. And let a few handfuls fall, and let them remain, so that I may gather them, and do not rebuke her. And she was beaten in that field until evening, and she threshed what she gathered, and it was about an ephah of barley. And she took him, and came into the city, and she saw her mother-in-law what she had caught, she also took away, and gave him what was left over after she was satisfied. Then his mother-in-law said to him, Where did you gather today, and where did you work? Blessed be he who recognized you. And he related to his mother-in-law whom he had worked with, and said, The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz. Then Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, Blessed be he of the Lord, who has not yet left his goodness either to the living or to the dead. And Naomi said to him, This man is our near relative, and one of our redeemers. And Ruth the Moabitess said, He also said to me, With the young men that I have you shall be joined together, until all the harvest that I have is finished. And Naomi said to her daughter-in-law, It is better, my daughter, that you go out with your girls, so that they will not find you in another field. So she joined with the young women of Boaz, to reap until the barley and wheat harvest was over, and he stayed with his mother-in-law. Ruth 3. And Naomi, her mother-in-law, said to her, My daughter, shall I not seek rest, that you may be well? Now then, is not Boaz, whose maidens you were with, of our kindred? Behold, he shall threshing barley on the threshing floor this night. Wash therefore, and anoint thyself, and put thy garments on, and go down to the threshing floor, but do not make yourself known to the man until he has finished eating and drinking. And it shall come to pass, when he lies down, that thou shalt notice the place where he lies down, then you shall go in, and uncover his feet, and lie down, and he shall show you what you must do. And she said to him, Whatever you tell me, I will do. So he went to the threshing floor, and did according to all that his mother-in-law had commanded him. So when Boaz had eaten and drunk, and his heart was already merry, he went to lie down at the foot of the heap of grain. Then she came softly, and uncovered his feet, and lay down. And it came to pass about midnight, that the man shuddered, and turned around, and, behold, a woman lay at his feet. And he said, Who are you? And she said, I am Ruth, your servant, therefore spread your mantle over your handmaid, for you are the Redeemer. And he said, Blessed be thou of the Lord, my daughter, thou hast shown this last kindness better than the first, for thou hast followed none of the youths, whether poor or rich. Now therefore, my daughter, fear not, all that you have said I will do for you, for all my people in the city know that you are a virtuous woman. But now it is true that I am a redeemer, yet another redeemer is closer than I am. Stay here tonight, and it will be that, in the morning, if he redeems you, well done, let him redeem you. However, if he does not want to redeem you, as the Lord lives, I will redeem you. Lie here until tomorrow. So she lay at his feet until morning, and got up before they could know each other, for he said, Let no woman be known to come to the threshing floor. He said more, Give me the cover that you have on you, and hold it. And she held it, and he measured 6 measures of barley, and put them on top, so he went to the city. And she went to her mother-in-law, who said, How was it, my daughter? And she told him everything that man had done to her. He said more, These 6 measures of barley gave me, because he said to me, Do not go empty to your mother-in-law. Then she said, Wait, my daughter, until you know how the case will go, because that man will not rest until he concludes this business today. Ruth 4. And Boaz went up to the gate, and sat there, and, behold, the Redeemer of whom Boaz had spoken was passing by, and said to him, "Come here, so and so, sit down here." And he turned over there, and sat down. Then he took 10 men of the elders of the city, and said, "Sit down here." And they sat down. Then he said to the Redeemer, "That part of the land that belonged to Elimelech, our brother, Naomi, who returned from the land of the Moabites, is selling. And I decided to inform you of this and say to you, buy it before the inhabitants, and before the elders of my people. If thou shalt redeem it, redeem it." Then he said, "I will redeem her." But Boaz said, "On the day you buy the land from Naomi's hand, you shall also buy it from the hand of Ruth the Moabitess, the wife of the dead man, to raise up the name of the dead man upon his inheritance." Then said the Redeemer, "I am not able to redeem it, lest it spoil my inheritance. Take my right of remission for yourself, because I will not be able to redeem it." There was, therefore, this custom for a long time in Israel, regarding remission and exchange, to confirm all business. The man took off the shoe and gave it to his neighbor, and this was for a testimony in Israel. So the Redeemer said to Boaz, "Take her for yourself." And he took off the shoe. Then Boaz said to the elders and to all the people, "Ye are witnesses this day that I have taken all that was of Elimelech, and of Chilion, and of Mahlon, out of the hand of Naomi. And that I also took Ruth the Moabitess to wife, who was Mahlon's wife, to raise up the name of the dead upon his inheritance, that the name of the dead be not uprooted from among his brethren and from the gate of his place. Of this you are witnesses today." And all the people that were at the gate, and the elders, said, "We are witnesses. The Lord make this woman, who comes into your house, like Rachel and Leah, who both built up the house of Israel, and behaved valiantly in Ephrathah, and made yourself famous in Bethlehem. And may your house be like the house of Perez, which Tamar bore to Judah, according to the offspring the Lord gives you by her." So Boaz took Ruth, and she became his wife, and he possessed her, and the Lord caused him to conceive, and she gave birth to a son. Then the women said to Naomi, "Blessed be the Lord, who has not failed to give you a redeemer today, and let his name be famous in Israel. He will restore your soul to you and nourish your old age, for your daughter-in-law who loves you has borne him, and she is better to you than 7 sons." And Naomi took the child, and put him in her bosom, and nursed him. And the neighbors gave him a name, saying, "Naomi has borne a son." And they named him Obed. This is the father of Jesse, the father of David. These are the generations of Perez. Perez begot Hezron. And Hezron begot Ram, and Ram begot Amminadab. And Amminadab begot Nahshon, and Nahshon begot Salmon. And Salmon begot Boaz, and Boaz begot Obed. And Obed begot Jesse, and Jesse begot David. Thanks for watching this video. Please subscribe to our channel, leave your like, and make a comment.